Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Harry Kane's Bayern Munich chapter may already be on borrowed time. Despite lighting up the Bundesliga with goals and assists, reports suggest Bayern are braced for his early exit, and the England captain himself hasn't ruled out a sensational Premier League return. Could we be heading towards one of the biggest comeback stories in football? Harry Kane has previously left the door open to a return to the Premier League. The 32-year-old striker, who left Tottenham Hotspur to join Bayern Munich in July 2023 for £86.4 million, €100 million, has recently been linked with a move back to the English top flight. Kane, whose contract at the Allianz Arena expires in June 2027, has featured twice in the Bundesliga this season, scoring 3 goals and providing 2 assists. Playing a key role in Vincent Kompany's side, he's helped the reigning champions get off to the perfect start. Despite the England international's impressive performances, Bayern looked to sign a new forward in the summer. The Bavarians set their sights on Nick Woltermaid, but he went to Newcastle United, so they signed Nicholas Jackson on loan instead. Kane also only has 2 years left on his contract, leading some to believe that the German giants will cash in while they still have the chance. Speaking to TalkSport, as quoted by The Express, German football journalist Raphael Honigstein revealed that Bayern are braced for the Englishman's departure. The German football expert said it's no big secret that people in Germany don't expect Harry Kane to see out his career at Bayern. I think Bayern are braced for the possibility that he will leave slightly earlier than his contract, which runs until 2027. One way or the other, he and the club need to take a view on this fairly soon. They were pushing for somebody who can both be a backup and an understudy for Kane. They looked at Benjamin Sesko. They looked at Nick Woltermaid. They ended up with Jackson, with an obligation to buy. This suggests Bayern are aware of the possibility that Kane might go in a year or two. Honigstein added, but at the same time, he's so good that anyone who comes in has to play around him. There is absolutely no chance that Jackson will displace Kane. He will have to play alongside him, ahead of him, or give Kane a rest in a game or two. But he is very much there to be his eventual successor, but we are still quite far off that. Kane didn't rule out a move back to the Premier League when he was quizzed on his future earlier this year. Speaking to ESPN in April 2025, the former Spurs captain said, "I'm not sure. I've said throughout my whole career, I'm not someone who likes to think too far ahead. I'm extremely happy here. I think we have a fantastic team, fantastic coaching staff, and I just feel like whilst I feel like I'm in the best condition, I want to play at the highest level possible. And this is as high as it gets, so I know a lot can change in football in a short space of time and things can happen, but ultimately my focus is here. I'm not thinking about any other league or any other team. And with football, I like to just go with the flow. And at the moment, the flow is here at Bayern Munich," added Kane. "I think when you're just playing in the biggest games every season, year after year, I think that puts you on that stage. I had moments at Spurs where we had that. We had some really great years where we were challenging for titles and were in the final of the Champions League. So I had those moments at Spurs, but not on a consistent basis. It wasn't year after year. Spurs fans, there's light at the end of the tunnel. After months on the sidelines, defender Radu Dragusin is finally back in training, edging closer to a long-awaited return. But he's not the only one. Thomas Frank has provided fresh updates on Bissouma, Kulusevski, Maddison and Solanke, as Tottenham prepare for a crucial clash with Tottenham defender Radu Dragusin has moved one step closer to a first-team return. The Romania international hasn't played since January, when he suffered an ACL injury against Elfsborg in the Europa League. One step closer. Radu's back in training, Spurs' official account posted on social media. The post was accompanied by a video of the centre-back lacing up his boots and running out onto the training ground, where he was put through his paces. Thomas Frank is expected to have Dragusin available before the turn of the year. However, there was no place for him in the squad for the Champions League's league phase, with Frank also leaving out summer signing Mathys Tel as one of a number of tough decisions. Despite being unavailable to play, he joined his teammates in Bilbao for the Europa League final and travelled to Udine for the Super Cup. Dragusin played 28 times last season, with 15 of those appearances coming in the Premier League, but recognised the injury has forced him into a bit of a reset. I think it really changed the way I see everything in football. He told club media in early August. It was my first injury, so it was a big change. I had to learn to live with it, train with it, but I think it changed me in a good way. It gave me another perspective of how I view everything in football. I had to learn how to walk again. I was on crutches, my knee was really stiff from the surgery. It was a long process, but once I got back to normal walking, it became a positive journey. Dragusin isn't the only Spurs player on the comeback trail though. Here, Football.London has the latest for you ahead of Saturday's trip to West Ham. Bissouma has yet to feature in the league this season and is another Spurs player who won't be able to take part in the Champions League phase. However, Frank indicated before the Bournemouth game that he might not be too far from a return. He's out for the next game, Frank said, referring to the defeat against the Cherries. I don't have a specific timeline for him, but I don't think it will be that long. Possible return date: West Ham, September 13th. Dragusin's return to training is good news, but he's unlikely to be rushed back into action. With Christian Romero, Mickey van der Ven and Kevin Danso all available this term, there is no need to bring his schedule forward. That means we shouldn't expect to see him for Saturday's game against West Ham. Spurs may even decide to wait until after the October international break, if they remain well stocked. Possible return date: October. Kulusevski looks set to be out for a little longer. He was also left out of the European squad, having not yet recovered from the patella injury, which kept him out of the Europa League final last term. Kulusevski is out. It's a longer one. I don't want to put a time frame on it, Frank told reporters before the win away at Manchester City. The Sweden star has linked up with his international colleagues during the September break, but manager Jon Dahl Tomasson made it clear that wasn't with a view to a surprise return to action. Dejan Kulusevski will be part of the group. He won't be able to play, but he will be there anyway, Tomasson said, per Fotbollskanalen. That says something about his character. He's doing everything he can to get us to the World Cup. He wants to help the team. He will be with the team throughout the entire campaign. Maddison will miss the majority of the season after suffering an ACL injury in a pre-season game against Newcastle. However, he has shared a photo on Instagram showing the progress of his rehab so far. "Lowest low I've ever had," the England international wrote in August after undergoing surgery. "Heartbroken at the fact this injury has occurred at this time in my career." With the Super Cup tomorrow, the Premier League season on the horizon, the exciting Champions League campaign, and it being a World Cup year for England, it all feels very, very cruel. But nevertheless, the ACL reconstruction surgery was successful. Possible return date: unknown Solanke came off the bench for each of Spurs' first two league games, also playing in the Super Cup final and scoring in the penalty shootout. He missed the match against former club Bournemouth though, with Frank issuing an update. "He's got a minor issue with his ankle," the manager explained. "That's been a little bit grumbling also in the pre-season. It's just too much for this game, and now we have the international break, so hopefully he can be ready after that," Frank added. The expectation is that Solanke will be assessed before Saturday's game in East London. A new era is underway at Tottenham Hotspur. With Daniel Levy stepping down after 24 years, CEO Vinay Venkatesham has made it clear that the Lewis family, who own Tottenham through ENIC, are set to invest in the club to ensure it can enjoy more success on the pitch. It has been a big week at the North London club, with Executive Chairman Daniel Levy stepping down from his role after 24 years. Football.London reported that the Lewis family were looking to modernise the hierarchy at Spurs with a CEO in the much sought-after Venkatesham, after being disgruntled at the lack of success on the pitch in recent decades. On Monday, the club also confirmed ENIC had rejected approaches from two different parties looking to buy their stake. An Asian consortium of investors, led by Dr. Roger Kennedy and Wing Fai Ng through Firehawk Holdings Limited, are understood to have indicated an informal intention in their approach on Thursday to make an offer, the day Levy left his role as executive chairman after 24 years at the Premier League club. Amanda Staveley and PCP International Finance Limited are believed to have shown enough interest, without making an actual indication of a forthcoming bid, to trigger takeover panel rules on disclosure. Football.London reported on Thursday that ENIC had no current intention of selling the club, and sources close to the Lewis family who run Tottenham owner Zenit, reiterated on Monday that the Premier League club is not for sale. Now, Venkatesham has delivered a detailed interview on the way forward at Spurs, with plenty of clarity on subjects such as incoming investment. The Lewis family, I think it's really fair to say that it was big news last week, with the announcement on Thursday that Daniel is leaving the club. But what I would say is that the club is well organised for succession, so we have a very strong executive team in place. And while it might feel like a slightly strange thing to say to the external world, although it's big news inside the club, it really is business as usual. But I really wanted to start today by paying tribute to Daniel. What he has done at this football club over the last 25 years is extraordinary. He has played a huge part in the transformation of the club, and there are so many examples. The training centre, the stadium, the media centre that we're just sitting outside now. His contribution is there for all to see, and I think his legacy really is extraordinary. For me personally, obviously I was expecting that I was going to be working with Daniel for many years. It's ended up only being a few months, but he's been a wonderful support and counsel to me during that period, and I feel really settled in. And I think also at a time like this, it's really natural to pause and look back and reflect. But I also know in my job it's really important to look forward. And this is a new era for the club under new leadership, completely backed by a majority shareholder, the Lewis family, so we can feel optimistic and ambitious for the future as well. Sure, I think in terms of the foundations, and you've heard me talk a little bit about this before, I think we've got an extraordinary stadium. We've got an extraordinary training centre. I admit I'm biased because I grew up in London. I think we're based in the best city in the world, and we've got a massive global fan base. We saw in May in Bilbao what that next step is. That next step is competing for and ultimately winning major trophies. We've had a taste of that. It's even better than you imagined. You realise that the club is even bigger than you thought it was, and you're hungry for more. And that's what everybody associated with this football club is hungry for more. Nights like that. Well, first and foremost, I know the Lewis family really well. I think it's important for our supporters to know that they're very, very passionate about Tottenham Hotspur, and they're ambitious for the club. And when I talk about their ambition, what they're really focused on is ensuring that everything that we do across the complete breadth of the club really centres back and is focused on giving our men's team and our women's team the best chance to be successful on the pitch over the long term. So that's their laser focus, all around being successful on the pitch. They know, of course, that we operate in a very competitive environment, and that there are a number of other teams that have the exact same ambitions we have to compete to win the biggest trophies in the game, so we know it's not easy, and we know that there's hard work ahead, but that is the focus. They're also focused on stability. They know there's been lots of change at the club, and now it's time for some calm and for some stability.